You wake up and you crave going on your phone, and automatically waking up is now associated with the dopamine rush that you get from Instagram, TikTok, scrolling on your phone, or anything like that. And you wonder why work feels so painful throughout the day. You want to start a business, you want to be successful in academics, you want to make an advancement in your career or the next step in your life, and you can't simply just because you've really fucked up how your dopamine fires. Your dopamine is now firing upon you waking up and upon the anticipation of getting your phone right when you reach on your nightstand to grab your phone. So now your dopamine is firing at the completely wrong signals, and you've associated waking up with getting your phone and getting that reward and getting that instant pleasure and automatically getting that spike of dopamine. So this is why you're not productive. It's not because you're lazy or really you have any of these negative traits associated with you. The reason you're not productive is because your dopamine is firing in completely wrong pathways and it's not firing when it should be. So in this video, we'll be diving into exactly how to take control of your dopamine cycles, how to take control of that first habit that you have in the morning as well. And if you're wondering why you should listen to me, name's David. I'm a 22-year-old college student, built a six-figure marketing company while in college, while building a good physique, also while building a respectable appearance as well, and buying a pretty cool Mercedes car. So a lot of the things I've done that I've wanted in life, I was able to do because I changed the way my dopamine fired, and I was able to change my associations to certain habits and conditioning I had. Let's dive in. Before we jump into and dive into the neurological addiction that you have, we need you to understand classical conditioning. Now, we first need to understand, like I said, classical conditioning. Classical conditioning is when you take a neutral stimulus and you combine that with another stimulus, and then it invokes an association or a reaction. So for example, in this example that we have on the board, this is a banana. Don't be an idiot. I know what you're thinking. This is a banana, and this is an unconditioned stimulus. And what an unconditioned stimulus is it's something that naturally causes a response physiologically and biologically in your body. So for example, this banana causes the unconditioned response of this monkey celebrating, being happy, and then he also is hungry, his stomach's growling. Another example is you have McDonald's in front of you. So what does that cause you? You're salivating at the mouth. You're hungry. You're starting to think of all these ideas with eating the food. Whatever. With the monkey, it's the same exact thing. You have the banana, which is a completely unbiased natural stimulus, which causes a natural response innately, which is the monkey is happy, he's hungry, and he gets the reward of that banana as well. Next, we have this light right here in this experiment. With the light, it doesn't invoke any response at all. During conditioning, classical conditioning, you pair the neutral stimulus and the unconditioned stimulus, and you get an unconditioned response. So what I mean by that is you bring something that's unbiased into the unconditioned stimulus, and that will give you the same exact response as the unconditioned stimulus gave you. And what this is doing is conditioning the monkey to eventually have the same response that they had to getting the banana as to just seeing the light flash and flicker a few times. Eventually, after conditioning, the monkey is simply just going to have that same exact response where it's hungry, it's being in that reward state, it's salivating at the mouth, its stomach is growling. It's going to have that same exact response to just the light flickering. And that's because we started with the unconditioned stimulus. It got the banana, and guess what? It's happy, hungry monkey. That's the response, and that's an unconditioned response because it happens naturally to getting the banana. When the light flashes multiple times, there's no response. When you pair the light and the unconditioned stimulus during conditioning, you have the unconditioned response still, and that's a happy, hungry monkey. Eventually, the monkey is going to learn to associate the light with getting the banana. So the monkey associates the reward of the banana with the light flickering. So the monkey gets a crazy rush of dopamine, not when it gets the banana, but when it sees the light flash, because it's conditioned the light with then getting the banana, so it's associated with the same exact outcome. So you're probably wondering now, how does this tie into like the phone addiction you have and you just waking up in the morning and then going to reach for your phone? We're going to explain this exact classical conditioning theory, except for you on your phone. We could connect classical conditioning with your phone addiction. So before, your phone was the unconditioned stimulus like TikTok, messages, Instagram, Reels, Shorts, all that kind of stuff. And then you see those things, and then because you're scrolling, you get a spike of dopamine. So neurons are synapsing, and what I mean by synapsing is the cells in your body start sending signals to the next one, and they start firing dopamine. And then we have the neutral stimulus, which is just waking up. At one point in your life, you just woke up and you didn't get any kind of response at all. So this was a neutral stimulus. You just woke up, went about your day. You weren't some monkey just, being programmed or anything like that. Eventually, you conditioned yourself with waking up and pairing the unconditioned stimulus together, which is your iPhone. And that gave you the same exact response as the iPhone alone did. So you wake up and then you automatically pair waking up with the reward. You created the association with waking up and your phone, and then you got the same exact response. You get a spike of dopamine, you get the instant gratification, all that type of stuff. Eventually, over time, which is probably what you're experiencing right now, you wake up and you're getting that rush of dopamine. So now you've associated waking up, just the mornings in general, the nightstand, with what? Scrolling on Reels, scrolling on Facebook, scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on TikTok, YouTube, all that shit. You've associated waking up with the dopamine spike with the reward. So if you've ever been away from your phone one morning, or you've ever tried to do some work after going on your phone in the morning and it's so painful, this is why, because your dopamine is firing in this pathway here, and you've literally classically conditioned yourself to fire dopamine upon waking up because you went through this conditioning process here for so many months and months and years on end. So this is exactly what's going on with you. Waking up is now associated with the spike of dopamine that once your phone gave you. And what's even more scary about this is you get a bigger rush of dopamine upon waking up and the anticipation of going to your phone than actually going on your phone. So in the pursuit of going on your phone, you get more of a rush of dopamine than when you actually go on your phone. So you literally hardwired and hard programmed your neurons to fire that way. From a neurological and cellular level, what this looks like is you have your neurons in your brain, and you go to check your phone when you're unconditioned, or the monkey, he gets his banana, he's salivating at the mouth. The neuron from the top sends a signal to the next neuron, and it sends a dopamine signal down that pathway, and that keeps happening from neuron to neuron over time. Now, same exact thing is happening with you. You see your phone, notifications, dopamine is sent here in this middle area that we call the synapse. It's sent from the next neuron here. Over time, these pathways become stronger, and they become stronger through a process called a long-term potentiation. It's when the neurons, neuron A and neuron B, become stronger and they form stronger connections. Meaning eventually, when these connections are strong enough, they're just going to fire on autopilot. And that's why you're waking up right now in the morning and you're experiencing this phenomenon of this urge, this need to be on your phone. It's painful for you not to be on your phone. That's because you're getting so much dopamine and you've hardwired your neurology to literally anticipate getting the reward. And right now, upon you waking up, your neurons are literally firing neurotransmitter signals, which are dopamine, and you're expecting that reward. So that's why things are so painful when you try to do some work or those mornings you don't have. And we're gonna go into the reframing and how to unwire this, so also make sure you stay on the video. But this is what this looks like from a neurological level. Now, over time as well, these neurons, like I said, they get completely used to firing in those pathways. Your dopamine baseline is going to be much higher than what it actually should be. So now, for you to be satisfied, for you to be motivated to go and do work, or to just do any kind of endeavor that's meaningful to yourself, it's going to be extremely difficult, because embarking on something that doesn't give you an instant reward, like your phone did, is not going to produce as much dopamine as you are going to get from just waking up and then going onto your phone. So You created neuroplasticity, which is the process of neurons getting stronger. You classically conditioned yourself to associate mornings with your phone, and you didn't even realize it. That's the consequences of this. You fuck your attention span, you fuck your ability to work, and then you get to your desk or you get to school, and you wonder why you're brain dead. That's why. So how do we fix this cycle? We went over how you've been classically conditioned and how this looks like from like a neurological level. How do you fix this, and how do you get these pathways firing in your favor? Number one is go the first 30 to 60 minutes of the day without your phone. I know this sounds so basic, but go the first 30 to 60 minutes without the day on your phone. And when you start doing this, those first 2 weeks are going to be extremely painful, because from a neurological level, what is happening is you're firing that dopamine, and then you're not giving yourself the reward that you anticipated. And you're probably going to fire even more dopamine as well in response to not getting the reward. But over time, you'll unlearn that association. When you have an association that's not trained and it's not worked on, you eventually unlearn that association over time, and we call that extinction in psychology. The next thing is you want to start to create new associations. So it's probably unrealistic for you to delete Instagram completely or completely avoid Instagram. But what you could do are certain techniques where you associate work with getting the reward. So, for example, instead of just going straight onto your phone, you do 45 minutes of work, and then afterwards what you could do is pair it with a reward. For every 45 minutes of work, you could give yourself 15 minutes of time on Instagram or time on TikTok. So now you're building new classical conditioning associated. This is a mix of operant conditioning as well, but you're creating new conditioning in your mind. So now, instead of just associating your phone and waking up together, you associate working with the reward. Also, what you can do as well is you can associate other things to make work or just the endeavors that you're embarking upon even more enjoyable. So don't have your first cup of coffee until you work, or don't allow yourself to scroll until you work. Or what you can do is play music while you work as well. So then you pair something like music with studying or deep work, and you get the dopamine benefits from music, but then you also get the productivity benefits from work. So you could combine multiple conditioning methods into one to create a really powerful formula. Eventually, over time, you're going to fire these neural pathways. These pathways are going to get stronger, and eventually the old ones are going to get weaker. If you don't work on a certain neural pathway, which your neural pathway is wake up and you anticipate going on your phone, those neural pathways, those neurons in your brain and the signals traveling from neuron A to neuron B, those pathways are going to get weaker. But now, if you pair the mornings with, doing your morning routine and getting straight to work, and you pair some other associations with it, like you only have coffee when you work, you listen to music when you work, or you reward yourself after working, you start strengthening new pathways in your brain. And in psychology, we call that neuroplasticity. It's the process of these becoming stronger. And eventually, those will fire on autopilot. And eventually, it'll get to the point where you look forward to working. Because number one, the work is going to give you the reward. You get to watch the movie, you get to go on your phone, you get to scroll on TikTok. But then, by that point, after these neurons, firing and wiring themselves over time, you'll probably genuinely start to enjoy the fucking work that you're doing. And you'll probably reap some kind of benefit from that work, whether it's doing better in school or getting better grades or anything like that. Eventually, this becomes part of your identity. And the simple component is just because you created new associations through work. And that's exactly how I built a 6-figure company while in college. The things like going on my phone, like doing certain compulsive behaviors before work or before class, I didn't do any of that. If I wanted to, say for example, do something enjoyable, or say I did want to watch some long YouTube documentary that was super entertaining, I didn't do that upon waking up just because I wanted to. I resisted that urge. It's tough in the beginning. And then I told myself, hey, I'm gonna do these sales calls, I'm gonna do this client work here, I'm gonna do this studying, and then after that, as a reward, I'll get what I want, which is like the time for entertainment, the time to hang out with friends, all of that stuff. Eventually, I fired these pathways in my brain, dopamine signals fired in my favor, and then eventually I start to associate work with reward. And the beautiful thing with that is also you get the natural rewards from work, like making more money, all of that stuff. And that's how I've built the physique I have, a decently respectable appearance, and a six-figure company while in college. So if you enjoyed this video, you enjoyed the classical conditioning breakdown, the neurological breakdown, how to fix this, subscribe to the channel. We have more shit. And yeah, that's it. Stay tuned for the next one.